Is smell the forgotten sense? It's way more important than most of us think, and so in this video we're going to outline why that is and what we can do about it. I'm Jonathan from Memories, and I promote olfactory health, which is one of the best ways to promote brain and memory health throughout the lifespan. So they've done surveys where they've asked people, if you had to get rid of one of your senses, which one would it be? And far and away people say the sense of smell. I want to be able to see, I want to be able to hear, I want to be able to touch. I don't really use smell that much, let's get rid of that one. And they've even done a survey of US college students who said they'd rather get rid of their sense of smell than their hair or their cell phone. I'm not so sure about that. If you ask someone who has lost their sense of smell, they'll often give a far different story. See, all of our senses are always humming along in the background. They're there to keep us safe, they don't take a day off, and so we're always picking up on ambient sound. Our eyes are seeing movement in our peripheral vision, and our sense of smell gives us cues all the time. Not only does your sense of smell account for most of your experience of flavor when you eat food, but we're picking up on social cues from other people all the time. People are able to identify by smell if someone is related to them or not. We pick up on other people's health status, their level of excitement, what kind of hormones they're producing in that moment. Now, much of this happens unconsciously, but it's when it's gone that we realize what it was really doing all along. Because as we're not tasting food the same way, it becomes less exciting to eat. When you have to eat every day and you don't feel like it, this is a real problem. And we know from studies how important it is to have a social life. But when we're less inclined to be social because we're just not picking up on the same cues and feeling as connected to the people around us, that's a serious problem. Now, we live in an affluent age, and so we don't use our sense of smell on a daily basis as much as we used to. We evolved needing to smell all the time. I imagine we would have smelled everything before we ate it to make sure it was safe and wasn't spoiled. You don't have to smell every single thing you buy from the store. We're also in nature a lot more, which is full of smells, and now living in cities, for the most part, we're just hit with bad smells, which, by the way, in studies are actually harmful for brain activity and concentration. And then on top of that, we have a lot of scent-free workplaces, which is for the best because most perfumes are made with chemicals. But we're going from not engaging with smell for most of our adult life in sterilized environments, and not to mention the stuff that does smell is often made with artificial things that are harmful for our bodies. So how did smell become the forgotten sense? Well, let me ask you a question. Do humans have a weaker sense of smell than rodents and dogs? This is what's known as common knowledge, and the answer is kind of yes, but it's also kind of no. This idea was first perpetuated in the 19th century. A gentleman named Paul Broca, who is an anatomist and studied the brain, was trying to figure out how humans evolved free will. He located free will in the front area of the brain, which is proportionally larger and could be shown to be what we use to process language. The human olfactory bulb is proportionately very small compared to this brain region. And so if you look at a human's brain and you compare it to, say, a rodent has a giant olfactory bulb in proportion to the rest of its brain. Broca took this information and came to the conclusion that in order to evolve free will, the human olfactory bulb must have shrunk over time. There weren't any actual measures or studies, it was just a conclusion that he reached. And you can actually trace through history as person after person perpetuated this idea. This went on for much of the 19th and 20th century before we really actually started to study what the sense of smell in a human being is capable of. And it's quite incredible. And although it's true that we're not walking around smelling the air left and right, our sense of smell is crucial in our day-to-day life and how we feel. And as far as scientific study is concerned, although we've picked up some of the slack, smell remains the least understood of our senses. There appear to be fascinating yet unknown ways that our smell health and our overall health are related. Scientists have traced 68 known neurological diseases that, when a person has them, will also experience olfactory dysfunction. But it's still unclear how the two are related. There are also well-established studies linking smell loss to predictions of all-cause mortality. That's to say, you can look at how someone's sense of smell is performing and predict whether they're going to die in the next 5 to 10 years from anything. So we have a sense of smell that in our modern age we don't have to use as much as we would have historically, and so we go decades and decades underutilizing it and understimulating it. And it now looks like that might leave us at a greater risk for things that we would be predisposed to. Scientists have a term for something called cognitive reserve. This is when your body or your brain is getting ill, But instead of succumbing to it, it finds workarounds. This has been shown with Alzheimer's patients who outwardly don't show the same symptomology. For these people, they often led a very intellectually stimulating life, and so their brain has more capacity to work around the neuropathology instead of giving into it. It's now speculated that having a stronger sense of smell could do much the same thing. And when we look at how smell connects into our brain, into the amygdala, the emotion processing, and the hippocampus in the brain, strengthening your sense of smell seems like one of the best ideas for long-term health. The good news is it's never too late. We can strengthen our sense of smell at any age. Olfactory training is the process by which we do this, and there's a video all about that if you'd like to learn more. Don't let smell become a forgotten sense. Often smell loss shows up 5 to even 10 years before other major diseases. Again, we haven't quite caught up to this culturally. When our eyes start to change, we get something done about it. We go to an optometrist, we go to an ophthalmologist. And it's now well recognized that if you're losing your hearing and you don't use a hearing aid, you put yourself at a much higher risk for cognitive impairment. But we've normalized smell loss. Or not even that, we don't even talk about it. And so it becomes each person's responsibility to monitor their own smell and actually just do something about it. Instead of waiting for something to happen, do olfactory training and strengthen your sense of smell. Make your brain more robust and resilient to illness today.